Okay, hi, good afternoon. Well, thank you, Sandra, for your words, the kind words. My friend Rich and I were talking about playing games in class for quite a while now. In particular, when the topic workflow or workflow automation is on. So the reason for that is that workflow you can't really see, and workflow automation is supposed to be invisible, and it's really hard to teach or to learn invisible things. So start with what is workflow? What is workflow automation? Actually, there are two types of workflow strategies or automation strategies, I should say. One is an automation of individual process, that is a single process like printing, for example. And an example for such an automation would be an automatic register control system on the press. The second automation strategy would be this means machines and applications communicate via network. They chat about product and production details, and the aim, of course, is to produce a production or to manufacture without human touch points. These two automation strategies are interweaved. To automate a process, often information is needed from the outside. For example, a press needs to know details about the printing substrate if a more automatic setup is strived for. Okay, we are concentrating on workflow automation only. In this sketch, each yellow rectangle stands for a single process. Package the process needs in order to execute automatically, or at least semi-automatically. The dark blue package contains the feedback of the process. To set up a workflow, the process that's needed for production. Furthermore, it's essential what input data, what input is needed for X, as well as the outcome of the process. For that, we have process resource models. Here we see an example, and these process resource models are quite important for the printing industry. The yellow rectangle, once again, is the process, and the bluish round things are they are called resources. In this case, the image setting process generates the resource image plates, which in turn is input resource for the process conventional printing. Well, this image setting process has other input resources. The same holds for the conventional printing process, so that would be a more typical picture. Well, what's the difference between the resource with the red border and the ones with the black border? Well, this red border, it's I call it transitional resource because it's an output resource of one process and at the same time an input resource of another one. And these transitional resources are the most important ones because they determine the order of the processes. So you see these bitmaps and the ink zone profiles resources. They also would be transitional from other processes. For the bitmap, it would be the screening process, and from the ink zone profile resource would be outcome of the ink zone calculation process. So the idea is the process can start automatically like image setting, or even like conventional printing, if all input resources are available. So these process resource models can be displayed in a card game. Some students in Novi Sad might remember this because last year I was teaching there, and in the lab I was using this kind of card game. So the idea of this game is to put the right process and the right to the next resource next to each other in the correct way. These particular cards can be actually used as a proper card game. If you want to put down a process resource model, you can forget about the cards. Basically, what only interesting is the ellipse and the diamond-shaped things in the middle, and this gives you the possibility to show a process resource model. Okay, this game is the digital version of the last one, of the analog card desk. It's a bit easier to play, actually, I think, at least, because you are getting some feedback, whether the card is set correctly or not. Moreover, the player can read some information about about each card. It's here, you can try it yourself if you like, on the Ryerson web server. Okay, this is the, well, here are different types of games. I choose the stitched brochure, and here you see input, or the different cards are completely out of order. For the yellow things are the processes, and the blue ones are the resources. And each of them, or most, yeah, each of them has either holes or noses or both. These holes, they mean there's an input, and these noses means there should be an output. This red rod here is the starting line. And to start this game, one needs to find a card which has on the left-hand side no holes and no noses. So that could be this one here, PDF pages. Well, that's a strong feedback. Okay, this is correct. Now you have to find another one. What do you do with PDF pages normally? Well, one thing could be imposition. All right. So there's always an alternation between processes and resources. The next thing would be a resource. And let's take a wrong resource, for example. Let's take whatever, bitmap. Don't hear the sound. And actually, you get some nasty remarks. What would be the right resource? This would be PDF sheets. Here we are. And the imposition process needs some input, and the input could be something like a folding scheme. Here we are. And so on. I mean, I don't want to play this to the end because there's not enough time for that. Okay. Oops, wrong one. Oh, I didn't show that if you hover over the card here, you can see something here on the bottom telling you something about this imposition or about this resource. And if you double click on this, you get an even longer explanation. Okay. This one here is a new game. With the former game, the player predefined workflows only. You cannot use it for your project or whatever. This can be done with this new software. You can choose a process or a resource or a process group, and then choose one here from this list here. We will see it in a minute. These lies was the this one here says the folding process generates folded sheet or folded sheet. Of course, the folding process needs this kind of arrow knock, and the other one is arrow head. Okay, let's start. Assuming that we want to start with a resource called paper. So I choose paper here. This one on the left-hand edge doesn't need anything, on the top and the bottom neither, and in the right we want to have some output. We need a knock. Okay, so that's one. So the next one should be a process, and the process we want to have something like a miracle, or a miracle occurs. So miracle is not in here, right? So we don't have a miracle as a predefined process, but we can have here our own process. So I just named this process miracle occurs. Okay, so this should have, on the left-hand side, should have an arrowhead, top and the nothing, and on the right, a knock because we want an output. Okay, so. Right, let's check this workflow. And you will get some information because there's no end card here, and the miracle occurs card has no right-hand neighbor, even though it should have one here. Okay, let's have another resource for that reason, and this resource should be the final product, which should be in here, yes. And on the left there will be head, and the rest would be nothing, and then go. So let's check it again, and you'll see everything seems to be all right. So you see only the syntax of this process resource model is checked, not the semantic. Okay, let's go back to the slides. Okay, this would be a more meaningful workflow concerning book production. Starts with two process groups, which are called pre-press preparation for the content, for the cover, and it ends here for the end product, and in between all sorts of different resources and projects. Sorry, not project. No, I got it. Process and resources. Sorry, just absent-minded. There's no miracle in here. Okay, what's the under the hood? It's JavaScript, of course, and JavaScripts here. I'm using the jQuery library. It uses SVG for real-time drawing the cards. The most important class in this JavaScript is called card, and each instance of this card describes card attributes like the types, the edge positions, and if it's active or not. I can store these configurations if I want to, and I'm employing some new feature which is called a web storage API, so I can store it in the browser. So we saw that syntactical, it can be checked, this process resource model, but not the semantics. And a very big warning, it's a prototype only, it's not a professional game or professional tool. Okay, that's it. Thank you for your attention.